I got divorced from my husband. The reason was quite shocking. He cheated on me with our son's wife. However, after the divorce, I felt a sense of relief. This is because my husband had a gambling habit and was reckless with money. I later found out that he married me for my money. My entire family is in the medical field, and I am no exception. After marrying me, my husband quit his job. When our son got injured and was hospitalized, my husband did something unthinkable. My name is Olivia Holmes. Today marks 1 year since the death of my son. I am currently looking through his childhood album, Lost in Memories. This is a story about my deceased son, my ex-husband, and me. I am currently 54 years old and work as a paramedic at a university hospital. Despite the high annual income, the job offers little time off. It seems the shortage of medical personnel is far from being resolved. I had an ex-husband, Peter, who was 4 years my senior. Even though we are divorced now, I can't help but think that the worst part of my life was undoubtedly due to meeting him. We met at a matchmaking party, which I attended despite my busy schedule. Peter, muscular and robust, was working as a delivery driver at the time. However, Peter's attitude changed drastically after we got married. He quit his job as soon as we got married and started squandering my money. "Hey, Olivia, give me some money." What, again? This wasn't the first time. But I couldn't oppose him because of his intimidating look. "Hurry up and give it to me." "Don't worry, I'll return 10 times more." Saying this, he likely went out to play slots. When he returned, he slammed the entrance door loudly. Damn it. They must have rigged that machine. I tried to speak to him, albeit hesitantly. "Did you lose?" Peter glared at me and said, "Isn't it obvious? I lost all the $300 you gave me. Since getting married, I have lived every day in fear." While he never resorted to physical violence, his aggressive tone was frightening. I considered divorce many times but didn't want to worry my son, who had just become a doctor. My son, Matt, is now a 27-year-old internist. Coming from a family of medical professionals, he always dreamed of becoming a doctor. He studied hard for 10 years and is now working diligently in a general hospital. Recently, he even found someone he wants to engage. I'll try to hang in there at least until the wedding is over. Despite this, my husband's behavior only escalated. "I have a night shift today, so I'm leaving now." My husband, still in his pajamas, came close to me. What is it?" Without saying anything, he just stared at me. "You haven't finished the laundry yet. And the bath hasn't been cleaned either," Peter coldly said. I was taken aback by his words. I balance my job as a doctor with household chores. On the other hand, my husband is unemployed and does not help around the house at all. Moreover, I was furious that he thought household chores were solely my responsibility. "I wish you would do that yourself." I inadvertently voiced my true feelings that I had been keeping inside. Then my husband retorted, "Huh? You do realize you can go to work in peace because I'm here at home, right? You should be more grateful." His outrage, which could be seen as a counterattack, left me more dumbfounded than angry. "I'm out of time. Just handle it however. Also, I won't be coming home today because I have a night shift." As I was about to leave the house, he called out to me again. "At least leave some money for my meal then." He stretched out his hand towards me. I truly had no time to spare. Although I had many retorts in mind, I prioritized my time and handed him some money from my wallet. Then, without waiting for a response, I left the house. The problem occurred while I was on night duty. A nurse came to me. "Olivia, please come to the nurse station urgently." It seemed serious. Perhaps a patient's condition had suddenly worsened. I hurried over. Upon my arrival at the station, another nurse told me to take a phone call. I picked up the receiver and said, "Hello, this is Olivia Holmes." The voice on the other end was a doctor from another hospital. "Is this Olivia Holmes?" "I'm calling from the hospital where your son, Matt, works." Unfortunately, Matt has. I felt as if my soul was leaving my body upon hearing the message. The nurses looked at me with concern as I stood there holding the receiver in shock. "I understand. I'll come by after my shift ends tomorrow." My voice lacked strength as I hung up the phone. Matt is paralyzed from the waist down. According to the doctor who called, Matt had tried to catch a patient who was about to fall. However, he lost his balance and fell down the stairs, hitting his back hard and falling headfirst. He lost consciousness, and as a result, his lower body became completely paralyzed. After my shift, I rushed to the hospital where Matt was being treated. I gave my name at the reception and hurried to Matt's ward. On the way, I encountered my husband. "Oh, what are you doing here?" "Same as you. I got a call from the hospital and came." We exchanged those words and entered the ward. There, next to my bedridden son, was a woman. "Who are you?" The woman turned around when my husband spoke to her. She was Matt's fiancée, Kim, a beautiful woman with long black hair. I knew it was her because Matt had sent me her picture via email. She is 26 years old, a year younger than Matt. "Hello. I'm Kim, Matt's fiancée." She greeted us politely, and I instinctively smiled to her. Then I approached my son. He was still unconscious, connected to a ventilator. "A ventilator?" As I looked at my son with confusion, a doctor entered the ward. "Excuse me, I understand he's paralyzed. But why is he on a ventilator?" "He's just unconscious, right?" I asked the doctor anxiously, thinking that the impact should only affect his lower body and that he would wake up soon. The doctor began to explain. "Since the fall, we've discovered that his lungs and head were also damaged. It seems he hit them hard as he fell down the stairs." Hearing this, we were all silent. As a surgeon myself, I was at a loss for words. The surgery seemed to have been successful, but his condition was still critical. The ICU was full, so my son was reluctantly taken to a general ward. For a month, I visited his room almost daily. Initially, I encountered his fiancée, Kim, a few times. However, gradually, I stopped seeing her, and similarly, my encounters with my husband at home drastically reduced. But, being busy with my work in emergency medicine, I couldn't afford to dwell on these matters. Yet, as if fate decided to confront me with the harsh reality, I witnessed a shocking scene. My husband and my son's fiancée, Kim, entered an inn, hand in hand. Why are those two together? The inn was not far from our house, on a route I took to work, and it was well known in the area. Trying to control my confusion, I confronted my husband about it when we met. "Hey, I saw you and Kim entering an inn together the other day. What was that about?" Peter looked back at me, surprised for a moment, then scratched his head. "Damn it. That's why I said we should have gone to a different inn." He sighed heavily. Are you having an affair with Kim?" I asked hesitantly, to which my husband calmly replied, "Yeah, I am. Couldn't just leave such a beauty alone, could I? Matt's going to be bedridden forever." Kim said the same thing. I felt as though I had been struck on the back of the head with a hammer. The same thing. "Yeah," she said, she can't stand being neglected for so long. Women are scary, man. And she said there's no exception, even for illness. Learning about Kim's true nature left me in despair. I had thought she was a polite girl, but I never imagined her heart could be so troubled. My son deserved so much better. Fueled by anger, I found myself saying, "Enough. Let's get divorced." My husband agreed readily, making it clear he had lost interest in me long ago. Feeling even more anger and sadness, my husband continued without giving me a chance to process my feelings. You can demand compensation if you want, but don't get your hopes up. I'm unemployed, after all. The only reason I married you was because you earn a lot. As if it's okay to say whatever he wants because we're getting divorced. My husband kept hurling cold words at me, already stretched thin. It seemed he didn't care about me or even our son. You're not even worth the effort of demanding compensation from. I retorted, trying to sound strong, but he just smirked, saying, "That's a relief." While my son was fighting for his life, both his father and fiancé had turned to infidelity. No wonder I hadn't seen Kim around. And to think it had come to this. After hearing this from my husband, I resolved to always stand by my son. However, his condition didn't improve, contrary to my wishes. Each visit only showed me my son's closed eyes. Yet, I continued to visit his room, hoping he would wake up. 7 years passed without him regaining consciousness. Then, one day, as I was heading to the hospital by taxi, my phone rang. Hello. What? I froze, phone still to my ear, vividly remembering the rainy day. The sound of the rain outside the car didn't register to me at that moment. Upon arriving at the hospital and heading to his room, I noticed the heart rate monitor was off, and a white cloth covered my son's face. Matt. I whispered weakly as I approached, and a doctor spoke to me. I'm sorry, but Matt passed away 10 minutes ago. The call I received in the taxi was about my son experiencing cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest means the heart stops. And it seemed that CPR was desperately performed while I was on my way. One of the doctors was sweating from his forehead. Despite the frantic efforts, my son passed away to heaven. I had spent a long 7 years hoping he would wake up someday. But he never returned. As my son's stretcher passed by me on its way to the morgue, I broke down and cried for the first time. After that, everything happened quickly. I took leave from work and was caught up in funeral preparations. On the day of the funeral, I ran into someone. Yes, it was my ex-husband, Peter. Oh, who do I think it is? He started to speak upon seeing my face, but then stopped. Apparently unable to remember my name. It's Olivia. Oh right. I knew it was something to do with a fruit. My ex-husband insulted my name as soon as we met. I thought to myself that he was still the same, and his demeanor was not suitable for a funeral. I don't know how you found out about this. But you have some nerve showing up. While our son was fighting alone, you were off having an affair. Seeing this man made all the resentment I had been suppressing seem about to explode. However, the words that came from my ex-husband were even more infuriating. I'm not really interested in the funeral. Our purpose is. Before he could finish, a woman from behind him continued the sentence. It was the cause of the affair, Kim. We've come to collect the inheritance. Hey, don't cut in. It's fine. Peter, you were taking too long. I just stood there, staring at the two of them. It seemed their relationship was still going strong after 7 years. And they even had the audacity to engage in flirtatious conversation in front of me. Enough, both of you. My words made them stop. Then, you're still as annoying as ever. Just give us the inheritance already, they demanded. Kim was smirking along with Peter. However, their request made me burst into laughter. What's so funny? In response to their protest, I began to tell them the whole truth. You two really think everything will go your way, don't you? The world isn't that easy. Struggling to keep my face from twitching with laughter, I managed to get my point across. Naturally, they became visibly angry. Huh? What are you trying to say? the inheritance you're talking about, like the life insurance for Matt, it's all gone. Their eyes widened as they looked at each other in disbelief. What do you mean it's gone? You're both so greedy and ugly. Matt was nothing like you too. A true mirror of a doctor. So what are you trying to say? By then, we had started a minor argument, attracting the attention of the other attendees, who were trying to deduce what was happening based on our conversation. Matt told me before he even had life insurance. If I die before Mom, I want all my savings and possessions to go to UNICEF. That's what he said. So after Matt passed away, I donated all his inheritance to UNICEF as he wished. There's not a single penny left for me, let alone for you too. What? My ex-husband's face suddenly turned pale. It seemed he had seriously come expecting to receive my son's inheritance. Kim, my son's ex-wife, looked equally pale. Peter, what are we going to do? We just bought a new sports car thinking we'd have the inheritance.
Yeah.
He responded weakly. So, that was it. I came to understand why they were so fixated on inheritance at that moment. They had counted on my son's inheritance to pay off the loan for the car they had purchased. But how did they even buy it? What are you both doing for work now? To my surprise, they answered honestly. I'm working for a moving company. I'm a part-timer. I thought as much. That's what I thought to myself before asking another question. A sports car can cost around $200,000, right? There must have been a credit check. Even if you passed that, how did you manage the payment? They looked at each other again. Then Peter answered. From a shady place. They prepared all the paperwork and money when I said I'd pay back in a month. The moment I heard that, time seemed to stop briefly, and I could feel laughter welling up inside me. What folly. Yes, that sounds about right for such a place. Don't joke. What are you laughing at? This is serious for us. Laughing, she spoke to me strongly. Her words didn't scare me. The scariest thing was the future that awaited the two of them. Even if there had been an inheritance, I wouldn't have given it to you. How did you think you'd get enough for a sports car? Huh? Such a large sum, Matt couldn't possibly have had it at his age. It's utterly foolish to think otherwise. They looked utterly foolish as I spoke. I pressed on further. You neglected your son fighting for his life, prioritizing your greed. This is your retribution. Good luck dealing with what comes next. As I finished speaking, they finally seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation. Their mouths hung open, speechless, as others around us cast cold glances. Security escorted them out, and my son's funeral proceeded with those who truly cared. The year has passed since then. Today, on the anniversary of my son's passing, I mumbled to myself while looking through his album. My ex-husband and my son's ex-wife have since been chased by debt collectors. In fact, collectors have even come to me. Showing them the divorce papers and explaining our severed ties, they left quietly. The two had made a reckless purchase based on their misguided belief in an inheritance. Their current plight must be the consequence of their past actions. I doubt I'll ever interact with them again. If we do meet, I plan to call the police immediately. Or maybe, I might throw a punch first. Matt, may you meet good people in heaven. I whispered to a photo of my son from when he was young. Of course, there was no reply. Yet, in my heart, my son lives on forever. After finishing with the album, I resolved to live my life to the fullest, for both myself and my son.